Alright guys, so it's been a minute since I've done a video. Um, I've had lots of comments and questions and stuff on some of my other videos of my wet dry wet setup that I started, man, it's almost been 2 years ago now. Just to respond to some of the questions and comments and different things. Now, in my previous videos, I go through and I show you how I hook everything up and all that stuff, like with the pedals, and then I did another update with all the rack effects that I now have. So just to kind of answer some of those questions and like what I'm playing around with and stuff right now. So the main stuff obviously is the 50 watt EVH 6L6 head going into a dry cabinet in the center, which is all of my other videos, and then splitting from that on this little thing right here. I think if you can see, is the Bray LO1 box that splits that signal to where I can run it stereo into I run it mono into the micro pitch. So I'm coming out of the head, the amp head, not the preamp out or the effects loop or anything like that. I'm coming from the basically where you plug the speaker in, and I'm splitting the signal from the speaker in, or speaker out, I'm sorry, from the head into this box, and then it's going through the box into this, and then splitting the signal off into my Eventide micro pitch delay pedal. Okay, and that takes my signal in mono and comes out stereo, and then goes into all the other effects in my stuff. Yeah, so I've got a Furman power conditioner here, whatever, and that's like not in the stuff. It just powers all this, like it's all my plugins and stuff on the back of all the rack gear. So that goes in, that goes in mono, out stereo, into these other stereo effects, including the 266XL DBX compressor, which is basically a stereo version of the 160 model from the 80s that everybody used on their clean sounds. But there's a button to mirror that same setup, but you can so you can keep your stereo effects run stereo. That's really the first thing, and then it goes into the Lexicon MPX1, and then it used to go into my Yamaha FX 900, but that one currently, I think the left channel went out on it, and so I've just cut it out of the thing and just left it in the box because it looks cool. And then all that goes into the power amp down here, the Rockville RPA 5. It's just a basic, nothing fancy. It's not like tube driven or anything like that. It's solid state power amp that you would use to power like DJ speakers, literally. But then I've just got the converters set up to run the outside cabinets, these two Harley Benton 1x12. So all my cabinets are 1x12. And there were some comments about other stuff like, oh, why are you using Harley Bentons? Because that's like taking a Les Paul and like I forget like what the comment was, but it was some, basically these have vintage 30s in them, like real vintage 30s. And if you watch some other YouTube channels, they did a whole thing on, are these real Celestion vintage 30s in these speaker cabinets, and they are. So, that was the sound I wanted. Now, I might upgrade to something else different later, but I like how they sound with all my wet effects on the outsides. So, that's pretty much the signal chain. Nothing's changed there. And then everything else you see is like running front of the amp that's just affecting the dry cabinet here. Okay? So, I have, I think it starts with modulation. So, it's like my Phase 90, flanger, super overdrive, and then my EVH wah, and then of course my 3 channels. I never use the effects loop because the effects, nothing is in the loop, so there's no reason to even have that on. And that's pretty much it. And what's cool is, going back to my signal, the cool thing about this Bray box is you can actually blend in as much wet effects as you want, or you can keep it completely dry. So let me just show you what everything, like the clean sound without any of the stuff on. So I've got everything on bypass, I think, except for the DBX. Let me bypass the DBX too. So this is just the dry cabinet. It's not very loud. Now, I want to just show you how much louder it gets on the clean channel with just turning on the outside cabinets with no effects on them. So I mean, the power amp, and as you can hear, there's like some hiss in there. Dude, the power amp is like cranking that stuff. So, you can see. I mean, my amp is only turned up to like 1? Is that 1? Maybe? The volumes, no, those are the gain stages. So it's like, yeah, it's like 1. They're both on like 1. So like it doesn't take a lot of volume when you've got a 200 watt power amp pushing stuff. Now let's throw on some effects so I can show you. First, let's engage the compressor on the clean sound. It gets rid of some of the hiss. I don't know if you can notice that on the camera, because this camera, I mean, it's my iPhone camera, so whatever. Now let's throw on the micro pitch. None of the other effects are on yet, except for the compressor and the micro pitch. So the difference there, it lowers the volume considerably. Now let's throw on some delay. It's bringing down the volume even more. And it's just on a dual delay that I have set up, like Eddie's, Edward had it was like 400 milliseconds on the right and 800 milliseconds on the left or something. And so I have that mocked so that it's a ping pong kind of. Cool stuff. And then I throw on a little chorus in there to give it a more shimmery vibe. So I mean, that's pretty much my clean sound. Now, some of the comments were like, okay, what about your dry signal? Like how does that affect like the tone and all this stuff? So the easiest way to tell that is with the distortion. So let me turn everything back off and do the distortion stuff. Let me bypass this. Actually, I'll turn the chorus off first, and then I'll bypass, and I'll turn off the micro pitch. Now you'll notice one of the things, it's still not that loud. Once again, I mean the gain on the blue channel, I have it at like 1 o'clock, the gain, and then the volume is less than 1. Less than 1. Now you'll notice I don't use the red channel at all. I don't. It gets muddy, it's too much, it's more gain than I need. So I'll show you what I do instead. And some people don't agree with it, and that's fine. This is just my personal stuff, my settings. Alright, so now this is just the dry cabinet. Now when I blend in the outside cabs, so they have no effects on them right now, so it's going to get like pretty ripping loud. I mean, that's loud. I mean, you can see the difference. I mean, it's 3 cabinets now instead of 1, and you've got the help of the power amp that's, 100 watts each channel pushing that. I mean, I hope you kind of noticed it there. So as you can see, like if I really want to turn it up, dude, I mean, like this is stage ready. I mean, this looks pretty much, this reminds me of John Petrucci's rig from like 2014? I don't know, there was one tour where he like used an Axe-Fx and some pedals and then was running 2 Mesa 1x12s. He didn't have a dry cabinet in the middle. I think it was his monitor thing instead, but like he was like, it's ripping loud and you mic everything, so like why do you need all that stuff? I mean, it gets loud. So okay, now let's throw on the micro pitch Eventide, and you'll see the volume level drop, but you'll hear this like spatial widener effect that it does. So the Eventide is just my dude. There's nothing like it. So that's just the micro pitch. Okay. Now, now let's go with some delay. Now you're going to hear the volume drop even more. But now you've got the delays that I had on last time when we were playing the clean. So, and then obviously sometimes I put on some chorusing effect just to get it. Now, whole lot of, like, okay, the gain, as you can see, the distortion, because I have the effects running so wet, it starts to muddy up the tone a little bit. It muddies it up just a tad. Just a tad. Like, you can just hear that some of the clarity has dropped off. And so this is why I use the Super Overdrive. Alright, so all the effects on playing that, and it's not said exactly like Zach's, but playing that intro part to Miracle Man, like, you'll hear it when I kick in the Super Overdrive pedal. Because, I mean, that's what he had. He ran that in stereo with a chorus pedal, and that was his sound in Ozzy, and it's amazing. I'm just doing it through Rack Gear. But I have the Super Overdrive, so... Now, let's put the Super Overdrive on, and you'll hear it clean up. So, that is all of my effects. Everything, how I run it, what it sounds like, dry cab, no effects, everything, all the speakers on, no effects, all this stuff. And of course, you can refer to some of the other videos on exactly how I plug all this stuff in. But, man, it's awesome. And, like, of course, if you look... I don't know which way this video is going to be facing, but I do have a computer set up with monitors that I can basically do all the same stuff on my computer with IK Multimedia, the iRig, and the Axe IO thing, which is awesome because, you know, it's nice to be able to know that I can downsize in the future when I need. But for right now, I'm getting to use this room for my music room stuff, so I like playing a live rig. I mean, you could go and take this to a show. If you really wanted to set all this up, it'd be insane. I don't think I would ever move this. I just like playing it at home because this is a dream rig that I've had since I was probably maybe 15. So over 15 years ago, 17 years ago now. And then when I really found out that it was not in mono, when I got in my 20s, about not quite 10 years ago now, but like mid-20s, when I was about 25 or 26, I found out that Ed was not running his stuff in mono, and that, you know, he was using a power amp, a Moss Valve power amp, which if you can get your hands on one of those, it's all tube amp stuff, like instead of this, you know, solid state thing. But it does what it does. And some people will say it affects the tone, it does whatever. It gets close for what I'm trying to do. And so, for me, this was, you know, it's my dream rig. It's awesome. But yeah, I kind of wanted to answer some questions and do some different things to kind of show you why I set it up the way I set it up and how it sounds good to my ear. Now, obviously, you're not, even though I have this like plug-in Shure mic that's supposed to get close to like a room mic sound, you're never really going to be able to hear it on that versus like in the room with me. But I mean, it's pretty sick. I love the setup. Obviously, there's a couple other things that down the road, like hopefully I can fix the FX900 at some point, and get it back in the rig again. Maybe downsize my power amp to a Fryette power amp and actually use real tubes in it. And I can change out the cabinets because they have selectable cabs. Part of the reason why I chose these Harley Bentons was not only for the vintage 30s, but they're 8 ohm speakers cabinets. They're 8 ohm, which that's the only thing my Rockville power amp can run. I don't have selectable things where I can run a 16 ohm cabinet, or else I would have bought matching EVH ones. But they do what they do, and they were cheaper than the EVH ones anyway, and they're vintage 30s. So I mean, it all worked out. But like, obviously there's things you can do to this rig or any other rig to like change it or update it. I could put in, like, if I didn't want all the volume drops on all the stuff like what I have, obviously I can put a line mixer in here, like make room, get a new case, a new carrying case for, you know, $150, and put in a line mixer, and then I can mix the levels of all the stuff, you know, and that would probably make it sound more even. But I, you know, like, this does what I need it to do, and I'm trying not to get all like super geeky and stuff, but you can go down this rabbit hole, and I've done it. But at the end of the day, the effects that I got, they do what they do, and they do what I need them to do for me. Because literally, like, even on the MPX1, I love having this thing because there's a ton of presets and it's fun to flip through all of them and do different stuff. But I literally used the last two that I created on 205 and 204. I made those, one with a longer delay. They have all the same effects. They've got a chorus, a delay, a dual delay, and a reverb, and I can turn on and off each one individually. Just the difference is that the delay lasts longer on the 204 setting than the 205. So like if I'm doing some like David Gilmour stuff, it sounds cooler on that. But this has everything that I need and more, and I wouldn't change it for anything unless it was like to upgrade a few things. But hopefully that answers some questions, and I'm gonna rock out and drop C sharp now.